I'm Stephanie Benvenuto, Chair of the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners. It is 9:02 on June 11th, and I'm calling to order the special meeting of the board. The process we're using for today's meeting is authorized by Governor Gavin Newsom's Executive Order N2920, which he issued on March 17th, 2020 to address the COVID-19 public health emergency. The meeting is occurring by video conference with all board members, our Deputy CEO, Housing Commission staff, and General Counsel participating by video. And also our CEO, I'm pretty sure, I was just chatting with. For the record, I will ask each board member to indicate your presence as I say your name. Vice Chair Ryan Klempner.
Here.
Commissioner Deanna Akers.
I'm here.
Good morning. Commissioner Maggie Davis.
Here.
Morning. Commissioner Johanna here.
Present. Good morning.
Morning.
Right.
Indeed. Commissioner Keeley Hubbard.
Here.
Hi. And Commissioner Mitch Mitchell.
Here.
Great. No members of the public are in attendance. However, members of the public may watch the video conference and hear the audio of today's meeting, which is being streamed live online. The agenda for today's meeting included a link to the website for the San Diego Housing Commission Board of Commissioners, where the public can access the live streaming of today's meeting. The public has been provided with an alternative opportunity to provide comments to the board through an online comment form and a toll-free phone number. A link to the online comment form is included in the agenda for the meeting, which was posted on our website, www.sdhc.org on Thursday, June 3rd, 2021. The agenda and the public comment form explain that comments about the items on the agenda will be read into the record if they were submitted by 4 p.m. yesterday, Thursday, June 10th, 2021. Non-agenda public comments submitted by 8 o'clock this morning will be read into the record. In addition, members of the public who wish to speak on an item can call the toll-free number that's included on the agenda. Members of the public should monitor the meeting through the live video streaming available through the Commission website, www.sdhc.org, and the number is up now. Thank you, Scott. And again, today's agenda includes a link to the website for the board where the public can access the live streaming of the meeting. Members of the public should call the toll-free phone number only when the item they want to comment on is being introduced. If a caller starts to comment on an item that's different from the one that we're considering, they'll be asked to hang up and call back at the appropriate time. Members of the public will have 3 minutes each to provide their comments, but if there's a large number of callers that want to speak to one item, we'll probably limit them to 1 minute each. Non-agenda public comments. The phone line is now open to provide non-agenda public comments. Please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue to provide non-agenda public comments. This is the time when members of the public may provide comments to the Housing Commission Board about topics that are not on today's agenda, but involve a subject within the Commission's area of responsibility. We cannot take action on a non-agenda public comment. But again, that number, and you can see it on the screen, is 833-610-2513. While we wait to see if we get any calls, there was one written non-agenda public comment submitted for today's meeting, and I will go ahead and read that into the record. Matt Cassis, apologies if that's mispronounced, wrote, over the past 13 months, SDHC employees have repeatedly notified SDHC management of numerous issues at the Commission through one-on-one meetings, RAD quarterly meetings, labor management meetings, and ultimately a petition to SDHC management and HR. Despite these repeated overtures and more than a year of conversations, SDHC management continues to reject, minimize, and deny the experiences of its employees. Workers across all departments and teams have been dealing with the following: increased workload, individual tasks now taking longer to complete than they would pre-pandemic in the SDHC office, increase in incoming calls and emails from customers, and delays with technology. We feel like we have no choice but to come before this board to ask that you follow up with your management team to address these concerns. We are demanding the following: an immediate delivery of all data requested at the January 19th labor management meeting, an expedited hiring process for all vacant positions, as well as adequate training for current and future staff, optional overtime for employees to catch up on their caseload if needed, and finally, a suspension of performance reviews for the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. I will ask now that our Vice President of Communications, Scott Marshall, let us know if we have any callers for the non-agenda public comment.
We do not have any non-agenda public comment callers.
Thank you, Scott. This concludes the non-agenda public comments. Moving on to commissioner comments. Do we have any commissioners that would like to make comments? Going once and twice, okay. The next,
Perhaps, Madam Chair, we can schedule a time at a later point to follow up on that non-agenda public comment that was just made. I know we can't take action on it at this meeting, but it sounds like a significant concern, and I imagine that's not news to Rick, but I just didn't want to have that comment go completely unrecognized.
certainly, and it looks like the CEO, who is next up, also has some comments on that. So we'll go ahead and hand it over to you, Rick.
Diaz is not unrecognized, and it's not, well, I don't want to get into a position of public negotiation here, but what I'll be glad to do is follow up with each and every one of you all that wishes us to talk about where we stand on this particular set of issues. Let me make a very brief comment, though, and that is that the last 15 months have been a very unusual time period, to say the least, with the COVID mess and the responses of a lot of the world, not just to mention this agency responding to it. The rank and file of the Housing Commission employees have done a wonderful job over the last 15 months. I'm so pleased. I cannot stand it with the work that we've been able to get done in a relatively smooth, non-controversial fashion. Issues have come up and we've dealt with them, as we always do. I will point out too, given what's in the news about coming out from under some of the COVID issues right now, this is something I plan to address briefly today anyhow. And that is, I promised the employees in March, just when this started hitting, that we would be one of the first to go out to protect the safety of our employees. And we did. And we'd be one of the last to come back once we knew it was safe. So staff has started discussing internally, leadership, about how we structure coming back and what that back means. And that's something that I'll be glad to share with you all in common discussions this summer. And I will look for your feedback then as well. This particular set of comments, Deanna, we'll get back with you. I know you've requested, any of the other board members want to have a briefing, we'll be glad to give it to you whenever you want. Okay. In addition to that, Madam Chair, I do have a handful of items that I would like some time to report on this morning. The first two are going to be presented by staff, so you don't have to listen to just the CEO talk. I'm going to ask Jeff Davis, who is our Deputy CEO, to give you all a status update of the COVID-19 Housing Stability Assistance Program. This is the program that the city asked us to administer this past winter. And we've got an up-to-date update for you. Jeff, if you take it away, please, sir.
Sure. Good morning, commissioners. So as of yesterday, we have dispersed more than $15 million in assistance to more than 2,500 households. Based on the applications that we've received to date, we anticipate providing more than $46.5 million in assistance. That's about 55% of the funding that's been budgeted when the program began. However, and this is a big however, if the state adopts the governor's recently announced modifications to pay 100% of past due and forward rent instead of the current 80% and 25% respectively, those program changes that we've been long advocating for, if those are adopted, we anticipate being able to spend all of the $83.7 million designated. So we have received more than 12,700 completed applications. We have about 10,600 additional applications that have been started and are pending completion. We want you to know that the state and the federal governments have made numerous changes to program guidelines and requirements since the portal launched in March. And some of these changes have required us to adjust the application processing procedures, including having to reprocess applications and adjust the portal that we use for reviewing and processing applications, doing this all while also at the same time continuing to receive new applications without disruption. Just an example of that, landlords are allowed to start an application on behalf of their tenant. However, 2 weeks after our application portal launched, the state instructed that landlords could not upload tenant documents. And so this required a change to our portal. In addition, a month after we started accepting applications, the state changed the requirements regarding obtaining identification information. So that also required a change to our portal and required us to backtrack and reprocess applications. This month, the state also changed its guidance about income information to determine eligibility. Previously, the state had required that we review annual income to determine eligibility for past due rent and monthly income for upcoming rent. Now the state allows either annual or monthly income for eligibility. And so again, this has required us to go back and review previously processed applications to apply the new standard. So we continue to make necessary adjustments in response to these changes as we receive them. The Housing Commission also continues to collaborate with organizations in the community to raise awareness of the program and to help people apply. On May 15th, the Housing Commission provided an informational presentation about the program to the San Diego chapter of the Black American Political Association of America. We sent an email on May 18th to more than 10,000 households that receive Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher assistance, informing them that they should apply for past due rent and utilities. Also on May 18th, we learned that Radio Latino has decided to continue displaying a website rotator banner ad about our program on their website through August 1st at no additional cost to the Housing Commission. This is part of the added value that is provided to us through the contract that we have for radio advertising. On May 24th, the Housing Commission provided an informational presentation about the program to the city's COVID-19 Response and Recovery Committee. 2 days later, our Senior Director of Policy, Molly Chase, provided in a discussion about the program on Gospel on Demand, or God Radio. On May 27th, we participated in another webinar with the Southern California Rental Housing Association to present information directly to landlords. The Housing Commission worked with SDG&E and the San Diego and Imperial Counties Labor Council to hold an outreach and application assistance event in City Heights on May 28th, which was very well attended. Tablet devices were used at this event to help people apply on site at the Labor Council's office on Fairmount Avenue. And we really deeply want to thank Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Hester for all their work in making this event and others possible. During May, SDG&E also began making direct phone calls to their customers with past due utility bills, helping them on the phone with applications for assistance programs, including our COVID-19 Housing Stability Assistance Program. We're also participating this afternoon at Bayview Baptist Church in an event that also will help people apply on site. This afternoon's event will provide vaccinations as well as help with applications for our program. Governor Gavin Newsom's office is hosting the event in collaboration with the Housing Commission, Bayview Baptist Church, UCSD Health, Councilmember Montgomery Stepp, 211, the NAACP of San Diego, and the San Diego chapter of the Black American Political Association of California. And we are working with the Labor Council to plan another event on June 17th at the Skyline Hills Library to again help people apply on site at that event. The application remains open, and the Housing Commission certainly encourages City of San Diego residents to continue to apply for help from this program. Anyone who may be watching or listening, the application is available online at covidassistance.sdhc.org. And those who do not have internet access, who just need help with the application, can call 619-535-6921, 619-535-6921. And of course, our community-based organizations working with us can also help with the applications, and a complete list of those organizations are on our website, www.sdhc.org. This concludes my update.
And I'd like to point out that the Housing Commission was the first organization in the state to at least formally reach out to the governor and to the General Assembly, to the legislature, to change the rule to allow us to fully expend the funds. And we've since been joined by just about every locality of the state. The issues that we've seen here are replicated just about everywhere. And I wanted to make sure that you all were fully up to date on progress to this point. And Madam Chair, with your okay, I'd like to stop at this point and see if there are any questions or feedback from any of the board members.
I just wanted to make a comment. Jeff, you mentioned 12,700 applications have been processed. And that was how many, and about how many, 10,000, you have 10,000 in hand that are still going through the process?
Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay. You know, I want to commend Jeff and Molly Chase publicly. I think since our very first group meeting, they have been open to suggestions and ideas. And I think that we're all witnessing the value of partners with the Labor Council and the community and trying to get the word out. I was concerned a little bit until I talked to Molly yesterday, and she gave me an update because the worst thing that could happen is that we have money over when it's all said and done and we hit September. But it's good to hear the governor has adjusted the payment for landlords. I think the real question now is how we get that message out to the landlords to come in and receive the help that their tenants so deserve. So.
Yes, sir. And we're making sure that the city council are aware of progress as well. So if they want to do any changes to the actions they've taken to restrict evictions, that they might adjust those as well. I'd also like to thank this board, in particular, council members Hester and Mitchell, for your help in reaching out to the communities. You all have provided some great policy guidance, the whole board, as well as some practical, particular relationship connections, and that's been wonderful. Any other comments on this before I go to the next topic?
How much has been spent on the portal?
Jeff, you're on mute. Yeah.
I believe it's still at the $250,000 level, Mr. Compton.
Thank you again. Thanks, Jeff. Also know that at the last board meeting that I missed, and I want to thank you all for the very kind expressions of concern and support while I was recovering from surgery. Thank you all very much for that. But at the last board meeting, I know Jeff Davis let you know that we're going to be providing regular updates to the board about policy activities. And this is in particular response to some suggestions from Commissioner Mitchell. Mitchell, thank you for that. We're going to do this on a regular basis too. And the Housing Commission has always done this, but we're going to ramp it up to even a greater level of activity to closely monitor legislative activities and to offer policy recommendations at the local, state, and federal levels of government. And we are also planning to increase our work with elected leaders and other stakeholders to advance policies that are consistent with this agency's mission. And fortuitously, we're able to pick up our newest hire on our management team, that is Molly Chase, about 6 months ago. Seems like Molly's been with us forever now, but it's only been 6 months. And I'm going to ask Molly if she would please to talk about the policy update that we sent to you all yesterday, indicating current level of activity. Molly, if you would please.
Of course. Thank you, Rick. And I have a brief presentation. Good morning, commissioners. So we'll let that get up. Next slide. So as many of you know, budgets are a focus area at all levels of government this time of year. We've been working closely to track the budget at the federal level with the proposals, as well as the funding that we already have received and we anticipate receiving, to ensure what programmatic requirements we will expect, as well as the state and the local level. The state and local budgets require approval by June 15th, so next Tuesday, for the fiscal year 22, beginning July 1st, as well as the president's budget proposal for the federal fiscal year that begins October 1st. And so here you see some of the items that we're tracking on the federal level, specifically, most importantly right now, the American Rescue Plan Act dollars, of which some allocations have started to be made, and we continue to track future allocations. Next slide. So here's just a brief chart actually showing the CARES Act money and the rescue plan rental assistance money that we're currently allocating. Next slide. But this is where we are anticipating significant investments in affordable housing and homelessness programs at both the federal and state level. And in addition to the rental assistance program we're running currently, the Housing Stability Assistance Program, which Jeff just gave you all an update on, we're anticipating more than 54.5 million from direct federal allocations for an entirely new emergency rental assistance program that will again come with an additional state allocation. And we're awaiting that final allocation number in the governor's proposal. So while it's a minimum currently of $54.5 million for a new rental assistance program, that could be as high as $100 million to the region for more money for rental assistance. And obviously we definitely have lessons learned and community outreach that we will apply. We're currently working with the mayor's office on what this new program could look like. Again, there are some different funding restrictions and opportunities, lower barriers, which I can always answer any questions on. Next slide. As Rick and Jeff referenced, our recent legislative advocacy has really included meetings with and letters to our state and federal lawmakers to request changes to the funding requirements that are impacting the Housing Stability Assistance Program. At the federal level, the most important that I want to point out for your interest today is work that we've been doing around the Treasury Secretary to help define housing-related personal debt as an allowable expense for our rental assistance dollars. So one of the most common feedback we hear from our community-based organizations when we're doing these outreach events is that they were able to keep up on their rent, but they went into considerable shadow debt related to keeping up with their rent. So we've been advocating on the federal level to allow for future rental assistance payments to be able to pay that housing related debt. And that letter is here and in the packet that you've seen. Next slide. And then here's a list of changes that we've sent to all the commissioners via email and letters in the packets on the changes to SB 91. We're hopeful not only with the governor's announcement for 100% payment of arrears and future payment of rent, but also these other bullet points that we've been including in our state advocacy are also incredibly important. Again, allowing programs to help tenants with other debts they've incurred, allowing tenants to recover past due rent for tenants who resided in a unit but moved to a different unit, many times self-evicted because they could no longer pay. They still owe that debt. The landlord still has to get that debt back. We want to be able to pay those debts as well. And then, as I indicated for the future, American Rescue Plan rental assistance to not add any future state regulations or restrictions on the funds to allow local jurisdictions to create the programs that best meet the needs that we've seen in the community. Next slide. And then here's the governor's massive proposal, which is a historic investment in many different areas of our state, but importantly in homelessness and housing. And so some of the larger allocations are listed here, not only utility bills and additional rent relief, $12 billion to combat homelessness, an additional $7 billion for HomeKey, $1.7 billion for shovel-ready backlogged affordable housing developments, work around student homelessness and rapid rehousing. Really important, really large allocations of money that we haven't seen the state engaging at this level. But we want to make sure that the Housing Commission is out in front in Sacramento before the regulations get written so that we can help Sacramento learn from the success and best practice of many of the projects that we've had. So the policy team has been working with rental assistance, real estate, homeless housing innovations divisions to prepare letters proactively to our governor and our state delegation in each of these buckets to provide our recommendations early on in the process. Additionally, our CEO has sent letters in support of important state legislation that impacts the work of the commission, such as SB 743, which is a bill addressing the digital divide by funding broadband for programs for residents and publicly supported housing communities. Again, leaning into the work of digital inclusion that we are embarking on. And SB 9 by Senator Atkins, which would provide an opportunity for significant reduction in both time and cost to homeowners seeking to create a duplex or subdivide an existing lot. Additionally, the Housing Commission will provide testimony next week in support of Assembly Bill 482, Assemblymember Ward, which extends an existing pilot program by then Assemblymember Gloria for housing authorities in certain jurisdictions, including the Housing Commission, to develop and finance middle-income housing developments. And that's the bill and the legislative power and authority that we used for the Hillcrest Inn acquisition for middle-income properties. The policy team continues to work closely with Mr. Gentry and Mr. Davis, as well as Strategies 360 in Sacramento, to advance our policy initiatives. And this completes my update. Thank you.
And for the board members, this sort of report in any amended way that you want to see is what we're going to be providing to you on a monthly basis. And it's to make sure you know that not only are we as staff sitting back and responding to opportunities, but that we're helping to define them in the first place and to have influence on what comes down to us in the long run. I know you all have heard me say for 6 months that given everything that's going on right now, this most unusual time, is I smell money coming. And we've seen a good example of that. And because this agency was ready and prepared, we've been in a position to further help the city and the locality, and we intend to do so going forward. And Madam Chair, with your okay, what I'd like to ask the board and Commissioner Mitchell in particular, if this is the kind of display of information that's useful, helpful, and if there's anything in addition we need to be doing. Mitch.
No, thank you very much. Yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I think that one of the concerns I have expressed in some meetings is that Mr. Gentry, you were right. There was money coming. What we do with the money is really important, and the vision that we create about how to use the money is really important. And I know that I've spoken to you and I've spoken to Jeff about this. Project HomeKey is interesting because there have been several discussions with the governor's homelessness czar, and his which is the governor's former chief of staff when he was in San Francisco, but Jason works for the governor now, and said everybody's going to get locked in that Project HomeKey is the absolute solution to all of our problems, and it's not. It's one component of a complex puzzle that is the solution. And so what I've asked Rick and Jeff is, I think that when you guys are presenting this information, if you could provide us with some ideas of how you plan to connect to each of those buckets. What the community wants to hear is, okay, there's a lot of money, but how are you putting that money into play? And how is it actually getting people off the streets, getting people into housing and into homes? And, again, the number sounds great, but the number means nothing to the everyday, citizen who says, is our homeless problem getting better? And so I would anticipate that Molly, Rick, you, Molly, and Jeff will have conversations and coming to the next meeting and telling us where we really can be successful in getting money out of those buckets and putting it into use quickly, because what people are starting to note in San Diego is that the homeless problem is getting worse. Stephanie's hearing this downtown. It's becoming more visible. The Padres will open up for full capacity next week, and everyone will come downtown once again to see the Padres play, and they will see the homelessness crisis. And so, this is an opportunity. And, I said to Rick recently, if the governor was going to give you $500 million, what would you spend? What would you spend it on? Tell us as commissioners how you'd spend it and how that spend would make a meaningful difference. So, thank you.
And that's a discussion that I like to have with this board through the summer and the autumn as the money continues to flow. And I think we're also going to see some significant additional money from federal government, particularly if the president's infrastructure bill goes through anywhere near as has been proposed, which has a significant housing element in it right now. So this could be one of those once in a career opportunities where we see some money come in that over the next couple of 3 years that may not be replicated for a while. And so I think that for us to be poised and ready to go is essential. And this also ties in quite well with the report we're delivering at the end of the meeting today on the strategic plan going forward, some of the changes we're proposing there. And I think this will produce some continued discussion between staff leadership and the board through the rest of this year and ongoing. And we will look to you all for guidance and support and participation with us, because sometimes the board member participating adds extra credibility. So this is the kind of hand in glove working together that I very much appreciate.
Yeah, and I'll make one final comment. It is interesting, and we've talked about this before, how this agency has transitioned quickly from being an organization focused on housing families and individuals that needed a roof over their heads to a dual function agency that is, and I say dual function because now you're being forced, and Lisa Jones, you were doing a fantastic job. I brag about you all the time in focusing on a population that is not easy. It's not just so easy to say, well, here's a place. And Molly, one of the things that you mentioned was SB9. I think that we as an organization have to be a big voice on SB9. Tony Atkins, for the pro tem, is going to need some help with that bill. There are cities that are going to line up against it. You've already seen some news about some of those cities here in the county. And SB9 is also an opportunity to talk to the pro tem about language that we may need that allows us to expedite some of the things that we may want to do as an organization. If we want to buy an old building and rehab it, giving us some, an expedited process would be important. And Molly, you know how slow the city process can be, but getting permission to expedite projects and getting people off the streets and putting that language in SB9, that may be the right approach. But I think I'm looking to each of you, because you're all incredibly smart about these things, is tell us, because the SB9 is a vehicle for opportunity. The money and the bucket of money is a huge vehicle for opportunity, and tell us how to maximize it.
Absolutely. And from a staff leadership standpoint, we appreciate the board leadership as well, and we look forward to continue to work with you hand in glove. Any other comments on Molly's report on policy before I move on? I've got two other very brief things, Madam Chair. Any other board comments? Okay. Just one amendment, and it shows how quickly things can change. And that is, Molly, the extra federal emergency housing vouchers that you indicated a while ago, we got notified yesterday that we got 10 more. So it's 480 instead of 470 now. And as the feds were continuing to come up with more money and filling it out, things are moving very quickly. And then, although it's only 10 additional vouchers, every little bit helps. And these 480 vouchers are designed just for us. Each city in the country got a specific allocation based on certain need criteria, with homelessness being a primary one. And these are to be used for homelessness purposes. So it's going to add to our Tracy's department, our financial services department. For the 13th year in a row, we have received the highest level of recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada. What we received is a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, and this was awarded for our comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year 2020. And I'll quote, "This award recognizes the Housing Commission for demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and user groups to read the report." The Government Financial Officers Association includes more than 21,000 financial officials from federal, state, and local governmental organizations in the US and Canada, and their mission is to advance excellence in public finance. And I can assure you, if you could have seen the way this place was financially managed 13 years ago compared to what it is now, you'd understand how important this is too. But my thanks to Tracy and all of her people, all of her support. The money is well managed here. And Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Congratulations, Tracy, on what sounds like a rip roaring good time of an association. So myself, but big kudos, very well deserved. Congrats. We'll go ahead and move on. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the special meeting of May 6, 2021. The phone line is now open for public comments about those minutes, and that number is 833-610-2513. Go ahead and call in and you'll be placed in the queue. There was no written public comments regarding the minutes, but you can call in 833-610-2513. We'll go ahead and give it a second. Scott, can you just let us know when the required amount of time has passed?
Yeah, so we have about 40 seconds left and no callers so far.
Cool. Thank you.
That concludes the time and there are no callers regarding the minutes.
Thank you. Okay, now we're looking for a motion or any amendments to those May 6th minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Do you have a second? Can I second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Akers.
I'll do the heavy lifting here today, guys. Don't you worry, everyone. I'm here.
This is gonna be a long one. All right, let's go ahead and call the vote. Vice Chair Klumpner,
Aye.
Commissioner DM Akers,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Thanks, Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Hubbard,
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. Mitch, I can't see you. If you're doing a thumbs up too, it's not gonna work. I don't know. Okay. I'll go ahead and add my vote in favor. Motion carries, I believe, unanimously. I'm assuming Mitch abstained. But that's okay. We'll keep moving. Consent agenda. This morning, I propose that item 100 be placed on consent. This is the procurement of general liability insurance coverage. The phone line is now open for public comments on item 100, and that number is 833-610-2513. Go ahead and make a call if you're interested in commenting. We have no written public comments submitted regarding this item. We'll go ahead and leave it open. And Scott, you just tell us when our 90 seconds is done and we'll go ahead and move on.
Madam Chair, I apologize as far as technology is concerned. I'm not seeing any calls in the queue at this point. My colleague, Director of Communications, Susie Kaywood, indicated that there was, and actually now apparently it is no longer there. So we have about 20 seconds left and no callers at this point.
Okay, caller, if you did call in and then did not, please feel free to come back in and we'd love to hear from you. Or if it's a later agenda item, the same applies.
That concludes the time and there are no callers.
Thank you. This concludes public comment period for item 100. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Approved. Yeah, so moved.
There we go. Motion by Commissioner Hubbard, seconded by Commissioner Akers, who's staying off mute because he's keeping the game strong. I appreciate that. We're gonna call the vote. Vice Chair Klumpner,
Aye.
Commissioner Akers,
Aye.
Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hester, Commissioner Hubbard,
Aye.
and Commissioner Mitchell. Okay, I will add my vote in favor. That motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Mitchell abstaining or not voting. Now we're moving on to our action items. The PowerPoint presentation for our action items were emailed to commissioners yesterday, June 10th, and are posted on the Housing Commission website. Our first item is 101, the approval of contract renewals with mental health systems to operate the city's Storage Connect centers, which serve individuals experiencing homelessness. The phone line is now open for public comments about item 101. Please call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. We have no written public comments submitted regarding this item, but we will take public comments following the staff presentation. We'll be hearing today from Director of Housing First Administration, Casey Snell, and Housing Programs Manager, Jessica Adamo. Whenever you guys are ready, take it away.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Casey Snell, Director of Housing First Administration. With me is Jessica Adamo, Housing Programs Manager in the Homeless Housing Innovations Division. This morning, we are requesting approval to execute agreements with mental health systems for continued operation of the City of San Diego Storage Connect Centers. Next slide, please. The Storage Connect Center 1 operations agreement was approved by City Council on March 20th, 2018, and the program opened on June 13th, 2018 at 116 South 20th Street in City Council District 8. The city leases the facility from a private owner and subleases the site to the operator. On November 18th, 2019, via City Council approval, a second facility, the Storage Connect Center 2, opened at 5453 Leah Street in City Council District 9 on a site the city owns. The center serves San Diegans experiencing homelessness by providing a safe place for people to keep their belongings as they look for work, attend classes, meet with homelessness service and housing providers, or otherwise attend to personal needs. This helps keep personal belongings stored safely off of streets, sidewalks, and storefronts. These centers augment existing storage center services that have been operated by Think Dignity since 2011. Think Dignity provides 400 bins for persons experiencing homelessness. The Think Dignity site is on a parking lot parcel the Housing Commission owns and leases to Think Dignity on an annual basis for $1 per month. Next slide, please. Mental Health Systems, or MHS, was selected as the operator for Storage Connect Center 1 in March 2018 through a competitive procurement process that the San Diego Housing Commission led in conjunction with the City of San Diego. MHS has extensive experience working with people experiencing homelessness. They provide direct client services and have demonstrated a clear commitment to both proactive community engagement and maintaining good neighbor standards within the surrounding community. Storage Connect Center 1 opened on June 13th, 2018, and is funded to provide 500 storage bins available for persons experiencing homelessness. The Storage Connect Center 2 opened on November 18th, 2019. It has 257 storage bins on site with a capacity to support up to 500 bins. The Storage Connect Center 1 is open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 11 a.m. The Storage Connect Center 2 is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 11. Next slide, please. To proactively address potential community concerns, several good neighbor policies were built into the operating contract requirements. MHS staff work in various capacities to best serve clients, maintain a clean and safe environment, and conduct proactive outreach in the surrounding communities. MHS provides a dedicated operator contact and coordinates with other city departments like the San Diego Police Department Homeless Outreach Team and the City of San Diego Environmental Services Department to support a safe and clean environment for the storage center programs. Next slide, please. Staff from the centers and the city's bridge shelters regularly coordinate outreach and engagement activities in the areas surrounding the centers to engage individuals experiencing homelessness and offer connections to community resources, including storage and shelter. MHS staff also engage with community members they encounter to provide information and gather input. The centers both have security measures in place, and the San Diego Police Department coordinates ongoing law enforcement and security presence within the city's security, with the center's security agency regularly. MHS holds monthly neighborhood advisory meetings in Council District 8 to provide community members with an opportunity to share concerns and ideas. These meetings also allow project partners to share information and updates with the community around the 20th and commercial site. And the mayor's office is planning to implement further community meetings related to both storage centers. Monthly meetings include ongoing attendance by the Housing Commission staff and city representatives from the San Diego Police Department, Environmental Services, and the mayor's office. During the COVID-19 health crisis, the community meetings have been held via video teleconference calls. In addition, the Housing Commission hosts a dedicated phone line available to community members to raise questions and concerns if issues have not been addressed in a timely manner by the operator of the program. Since the opening of Center 1 in June 2018, the phone line has received 9 calls. Only 2 of those calls were received in the last 6 months. The majority of calls are not related to the program specifically, but more related to other issues that may be connected to unsheltered homelessness in the neighborhood surrounding the storage center or the need for environmental services cleaning. As needed, Housing Commission staff follow up with the program operator and other appropriate city departments to address any needs quickly. This phone line is circulated regularly via the Community Advisory Group and on informational flyers shared with community representatives. Next slide.
The existing operator agreements for both Center 1 and Center 2 terminate on June 30th, 2021, with no further option years. MHS has operated Center 1 since June 2018 and Center 2 since November 2019. As the current operator of each storage center, MHS has gained extensive experience in the successful operation of these programs, demonstrating the capacity to administer the storage centers effectively and continues to meet contract requirements. Furthermore, the services provided at the site locations have proved critical during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Staff recommends utilizing the non-competitive agreement under Procurement Policy 9.4 in lieu of a competitive solicitation. This approach ensures the continued operation and provision of uninterrupted services for Center 1 and Center 2 while the pandemic still impacts our region. Under these conditions, a need exists to continue these critical services without interruption, as opposed to possibly transitioning to 1 or 2 new providers in July 2021. Staff is currently finalizing a request for proposals for continued operations from January 1, 2022 forward, which will provide an opportunity for a competitive solicitation process. As of April 30th, 2021, the Storage Connect Center 1 had a waiting list of 9 individuals experiencing homelessness. The Storage Connect Center 2 does not have a waiting list at this time. Next slide, please. The data outcome slides in this presentation reflect 8 months of data from both Storage Connect centers from July 1, 2020, April 30th, 2021. This slide shows the daily new client enrollments. The Storage Connect Center 1 conducted 333 new client enrollments, and the Storage Connect Center 2 conducted 242 new client enrollments from July 1, 2020 to April 30th, 2021. Next slide, please. This slide shows the number of times clients returned to access their stored belongings from July 1, 2020 to April 30th, 2021. The Storage Connect Center 1 had 24,721 return visits from enrolled clients, and the Storage Connect Center 2 had 1,259 return visits from enrolled clients. As of April 30th, 2021, a total of 459 clients were enrolled and utilizing the Storage Connect Center 1, and 188 clients were enrolled and utilizing Storage Connect Center 2. Next slide, please. In addition to providing storage space for individuals experiencing homelessness, one of the program's functions is to connect their clients with mainstream supportive services that will assist with their efforts to obtain stable housing. In the 10-month reporting period from July 1, 2020 to April 30th, 2021, the Storage Connect Center 1 has provided 489 referrals, and the Storage Connect Center 2 provided 837 referrals to community resources such as healthcare, housing search and information, income support and employment, and to mental health and substance use disorder services. Next slide. During this 10-month reporting period, 3% of all clients who have been served by the Storage Connect Center 1 and 2 are transition-aged youth. 35% are 55 years of age and older at Storage Connect Center 1, and 34% are 55 years of age and older at Storage Connect Center 2. In addition, 39% of clients served by the Storage Connect Center 1 and 35% of clients served at the Storage Connect Center 2 self-identify as chronically homeless. Next slide, please. The budget amounts reflected on this slide are based on a 6-month contract term. The cost to operate the Storage Connect Center 1 is $624,941, and the cost to operate the Storage Connect Center 2 is $360,332 for a total operating cost of $985,303. Next slide, please. Staff recommend that the Housing Commission Board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the slide and the following slide. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. We are available to answer any questions.
Okay, commissioners, do we have any questions or, oh, I'm sorry. First, we will take public comments from callers on this item. Do we have any callers, Scott?
We have 4 callers in the queue and I can begin taking if you're okay with that.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Our first caller is from phone number ending in 2208, identified as James Automotive. Caller, please begin making your comment.
Good morning. Taking my call. My name is James Justice, and I'm commenting on the storage center at 116 South 20th Street. I'm a member of the Neighborhood Advisory Committee for the storage center. The center has been well run over the past few years, and staff has responded to neighborhood concerns in a timely manner. The center has been instrumental in removing clutter from our streets, especially shopping carts, and gives homeless folks, those experience homelessness, a chance to store their valuables in a safe surrounding. So please consider renewing the contract today, and please consider opening additional storage centers in other neighborhoods. And thank you so much for your time.
Our next caller is, we have another caller that just entered the queue. Our next caller is Richard Diaz. Our next caller is Richard Diaz, number ending in 9138. Please begin making your comment.
Hello, good morning, commissioners. My name is Richard Diaz. I am a 30-year resident of Oak Park. Oak Park is a community right next to Redwood Village in which the Leah Street bins are located. I am respectfully asking that the commission not vote on extending the contract for Leah Street bins. I'm not saying to deny it, but I'm saying to postpone the vote because the community has not been properly advised of this. We found out about this meeting just Wednesday. And so that's why there are no written comments. Anyway, I would, really appreciate it if you would postpone the vote, and that gives the communities a time to properly inform you on our experiences and our expectations of the effectiveness of those bins. I'm not talking about the commercial street ones. I'm talking about Leah Street. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next caller is from phone number ending in 7437 and is identified as a wireless caller. Caller, please state your name and begin your comment.
My name is Michael Lee.
Please go ahead.
I'm the principal of Our Lady's School, located within 300 yards of the storage facility. And I'm also associate pastor at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church. Our Lady's School is located within 300 yards of the facility. I'm in favor of the facility if the county or if the housing authority will pay for the security guard, that private security guard we've had to hire at $1,000 per campus, and we have 2 campuses, so $2,000 per week. We had a homeless man on drugs climb over a 12-foot tall fence, and he's done that 4 times, and he can do it in under 5 seconds. Our school has gone on lockdown 11 times since the 27th of April, even with security guard present. I spent one and a half to almost 2 hours trying to persuade this homeless person to leave the area. I put myself at risk. I asked for your help. We've had employees stalked and one employee assaulted twice by the same man on school property, on school grounds. Both locations, we have had homeless forcing their way onto school grounds, either through an open, when someone enters, an authorized person enters through a gate, forcing their way in, or climbing over the fence. In either case, it's happened that 4-year-olds are on the playground. Our employees are as defenseless as those 4-year-old children. They're unarmed, and their only defense is to lock down the school if they can get all of the kids into the classroom. One of the homeless men on campus on April 27th went door to door, knocking on classroom doors and trying to force them open and peering in windows to see the children. 2 weeks ago, we had an indecent exposure and public masturbation at right on school grounds. We need your help. Thank you. That concludes my comment.
Thank you, sir. Our next caller is caller number ending in 8832, identified as Martin Silva. Please begin your comment.
Hello, this is.
Please go ahead. You can begin your comment.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. This is Father Marty Silva. I am the pastor of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hang on. Okay. Good morning. This is Father Marty Silva. I am the pastor of Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Logan Heights. I'm commenting on the storage facility on 20th Street. I'll make this brief because of time constraints. We have a shrine up on Kearney Avenue, which has been there for a long time and has been frequented by many. It's outside and people go all hours of the day. I've seen people go there late at night. I've seen people go there early in the morning. We have, given that our population is primarily Latino, we have candles out there, which is part of their devotional practice, and also a little cash box for donations. We have had to move the candles inside and away from the folks because there was a fight between two homeless people and they used the candles as projectiles. They were throwing it at each other and basically got wax all over the sidewalk as the candles broke. And our volunteers had to clean it all up. There's also vandalism, paint vandalism on the shrine, as well as vandalism on the church door and wall, painting. We have several occasions where people have tried to fish money out of the collection box. The shrine is important to be there because this is people's devotional practice. It is very important to their faith. It gives people hope, and a lot of homeless have been kind of making it unsafe for people. I also want to add that recently we have a parking lot at the end of the block, and there was a whole rip open through the chain link fence so that people can sleep inside the parking lot. I really am hoping for another solution because there's a lot of homeless traffic in front of the church on Kearney Avenue, and these things start to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next caller is from phone number ending in 4514, identified as Alida Chavez. You may begin your comment. If you could please turn down the volume on your computer and you can begin your comment now. Caller ending in 451. My apologies. Caller ending in 4514, Alita Chavez. You may begin.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. My name is Elida Chavez. I am a resident of Oak Park community and member of the Oak Park Community Council. I am really, really surprised and appalled actually to finally hearing from our own community that there was a meeting on Wednesday with the Housing Commission regarding Leah Street containers or bins. It is not surprising that there is no community engagement from the get-go on this particular site. And the more I hear about what is happening in Logan Heights, and the more I see that what's happening on our side, it is really inhumane what we have for the homeless. We don't have any housing. The storage bins, that's just a temporary Band-Aid. The Housing Commission is doing a fantastic job according to all of the reports that I heard today, because I have never attended one of your meetings. And I'm so happy that all of this happened on Wednesday, because now I am able to hear what you're saying, what you're doing. Although we do not need the storage bins. Please do not fund the storage bins. I also have witnessed public masturbation by different people at the Toyas Creek area, right across from Leah's Bend, when I would go shopping in the nearby stores. If you go to Clay Park, please, all of you, take a tour to Clay Park and you'll see exactly what happens to the homes from hundreds of people there. So we don't need storage bins. We need housing. Please do not fund this project. And all of this came about after the fact when Mayor Faulkner did his backdoor deal to get Leah Street the bins. So none of the staff was aware as to what happened to District 9 and 8 behind closed doors regarding this property. We're not blaming them on anything. The only thing that I am requesting is that public participation, community engagement is respected, because we're not invited, nobody reaches out to us, and we're very active. And believe me, we will be heard at City Council about what's happening at Leah Storage and our surrounding community. It is not safe. It is not environmentally safe. And definitely the sexual activity does not help. We have Crawford High School.
Thank you, ma'am.
We
That
have
concludes your 3 minutes.
the middle school.
Ma'am,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our final caller in the queue is phone number ending in 0913, Ralph Zuniga. Please begin your comment.
And our surrounding is not safe.
Caller, if you can please turn down the volume on your computer, and then you may begin your comment.
The sexual activity does not help. We have Crawford High School.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have the middle
The caller ending in 0913, Ralph Zuniga. You may begin. Please turn down the volume on your computer.
Hi, callers, if you plan on commenting on the meeting, you need to turn your computer volume down as soon as you call, because there's a.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Connie Zuniga. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Please go ahead. Ma'am, please turn down your
Hello?
computer.
Can you hear me?
Please turn down your
This is
computer.
Connie Zuniga. I'm a property owner on Commercial Street. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, thank you. Please go ahead.
Yes. My name is Connie Zuniga.
Down as soon as you call, because there's a.
Commissioner-
Turn down
Commissioner
your
Diaz.
Okay, I'm a property owner on Commercial Street. The storage center on Commercial Street opened in June of 2018. The community was not notified. This is Connie Siniga. I'm a property owner on Commercial Street.
Ma'am, can you turn down your computer volume so we're not hearing the background?
Okay, the community was not notified regarding the storage center. And this is another example of the city dumping services in low-income areas without community input. Okay, I'm a property owner on Commercial Street. The storage
Does that
center
conclude your comment, ma'am?
opened in June of 2018. The community was not notified. This is another example of the city dumping services in low-income areas without community input. Okay, Christina. Regarding the storage center. And this is another example of the city dumping services in low-income areas without community input. The storage facility has 500 trash cans. The monthly report shows an average of 2,000 return visits each month. This is another example of the city.
Please continue, ma'am.
In low-income areas without community input. Okay.
You have 1 minute left, Ms. Amiga.
Okay, 500 storage cans were provided. Each month, report shows an average of 2,000 return visits each month. The impact on this community has been devastating. Public urination, sexual activity, drug use, naked men are walking around the neighborhood, an increase in trash, theft from residents, more homeless encampments. As the Paseo apartment complex of Commercial has over 500 men, women, and children that have had numerous problems. Residents find homeless sleeping in the facility when they leave for work. The bicycle building was broken into and 13 bikes stolen. Cars were vandalized. The police patrol the area, but cannot arrest anyone unless it's a felony because of COVID. Our requests repeatedly at our monthly meetings for wash stations and porta potties were ignored. The storage facility has one bathroom to accommodate almost 500 homeless persons.
And that
We were at
concludes
City
your 3
Council
minutes.
when Georgette Gomez, the council president, stated that within 6 months, every council district had to have a building
Thank you, ma'am. That
designated for
concludes your
storage
3
of the
minutes.
homeless. This never happened. There has to be equal distribution.
Madam Chair, that concludes the callers on this item.
Thank you. Again, if you are tuning in to make comment on one of the items, please, once you call in and you're in the queue, mute your computer. For those of us that are veterans at the Zoom call in, I can appreciate that it does get confusing, but there's a delay and you're going to end up losing valuable time where you could be providing feedback instead, kind of figuring out if it's time to go. So again, once you call, you mute, and then we'll be able to hear you more productively. Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments on this item? Vice Chair Klopner.
Thank you for everybody that called in. This is second time this has come around since I've been here. So I feel like I've been watching this, and I've appreciated the tours we've received pre-COVID of these facilities, and they seem to provide a very valuable service, as the numbers suggest. And yeah, in particular, I want to thank the first caller who called in and talked about how responsive staff has been to the concerns of the community through that call-in line and everything else. And for all the other callers that have concerns, I guess one challenge that I have is that it's difficult to differentiate between how much of this is related to the facilities that we're talking about in the question at hand versus general concerns related to the crisis of homelessness overall. Because and while if you're near this facility, I'm sure that this all seems to be related to it, but the truth is that we can move pretty much a mile in any direction away from it. And if we open up a line and ask people to call in, they will call with very much the same comments. And so all of that just speaks to the fact that we're dealing with a very big, pervasive crisis here that requires a lot of tools. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're going unheard or unlistened to here, but I just did not hear anything that suggested to me that the facility and the services were the cause of those concerns, as opposed to part of the solution to those concerns. And so last thing I'll say is, somebody did mention that what we need is housing, not storage facilities. In a perfect world, I think that we would all wave a magic wand and we would have all the permanent supportive housing and related services, tomorrow that we need, so that there would be no need for storage facilities, and that would be perfect. And I think we would all support that. We don't have that ability right now, and so what we have to do is manage the situation for the unhoused population while we're working towards those goals. And so that's all I have to say. Of course, I'll be supporting this. I do think it's providing a lot of value, but hopefully that context helps for the members of the public that have concerns.
Thank you, Vice Chair Klempner. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Davis.
Yes, could someone please explain to me what type of security we offer around these container stations? I didn't realize it was so lacking. Could someone please explain it to me? Thank you.
Hello, Commissioner Davis, Lisa Jones. So just to speak to security, not just by the storage sites themselves, but also with the relationship that we have with the Neighborhood Policing Division and PD. And I do want to honor the callers that are expressing their concerns around some of the challenges that they're experiencing. Frankly, it's not challenges that we're not hearing from outreach workers and other systems and communities in this area. So to Commissioner Klempner's points, this really is a significant pervasive issue right now that the city is having to face and address. And the storage centers, frankly, although this is a subjective statement, I would argue that the folks that use the storage centers are probably higher functioning than some of the folks that are causing some of the greatest challenges and impact to the communities. The number of times they visit the storage center in a day shows that they are actively engaging in that program, engaging in the use of that bin and doing other things. So that shows some level of, I would say, functioning there. But to speak to the security, 24/7 security for the commercial street. The Leah Street site has a lot less traffic. I believe their security is just while they're there, but it's also next to a PD facility as well. So there's resources around that facility. The security site for the commercial site, they work closely with PD on both campuses. They work with policing division to understand who the sergeant on duty is, to understand who the lead security person is on site, and they coordinate with that. From the neighborhood advisory group perspective, we have neighborhood policing division, environmental services, county behavioral health representatives, and city representatives on those calls as well, so that as things come up in real time through the neighborhood advisory group, and or if we receive phone calls, which is rare to the Housing Commission itself, they can be addressed. And we also make sure that the community groups have contact information for those different relevant leads on that.
I have a follow-up question, Chairman. Lisa, I think the frustration we're hearing in the calls is something we're all accustomed to when we discuss the homelessness situation. I think based on your comments about security, they're probably, if there's a way to beef up security, if we can look at that, I think that would help. Listening to the both scenarios about the having to have lockdowns at the school. I don't know whether the numbers are accurate. I just know that if anytime they have to have a lockdown at the school, that's a concern. And this is a story that has the ability to get away from us. So if Rick, if we can allocate more money for security and look at how the security aspect is set up. What you heard from the father there was the same situation you're hearing downtown, where people were saying, when I dial because I see someone who has mental health issues, it takes PD forever to get there if they ever show up. And we cannot continue to let that happen because that is actually working against us. So if we can change the security situation, because what I heard there was that, when you're hearing people say, I'm putting myself at risk because I'm having to spend 2 hours trying to convince somebody or something, that should not be the case. And so whatever we need to do to support you to get additional funding for resources for security, we will, but this has to happen immediately. And I think that would go a long way in helping.
So
Lisa, you go ahead. Lisa, you go ahead, and then I'll comment.
So Commissioner Mitchell, I really appreciate the support and I completely honor the challenges, particularly around the school that they're having. I will say the challenge with just bringing on additional security to the site itself is that they cannot act outside of that site perimeter. They have no ability or authority to do so, which is why coordination with neighborhood policing division and the local, the beat policing, just SDPD is so important. So we can increase security around the site, but the footprint of the site is the only thing they'll be insured or have any authority to impact. So I want to acknowledge that truth.
Why don't we don't have perimeter authority? Why is that?
Well, a security personnel cannot go and take action on someone who's on someone else's property. So
I see your point there. Okay.
Of the school, which is in the alley next door, they can't act on that. Now they do 24-hour walking around the perimeter all the time. That's they literally have a specific area that they have to monitor 24 hours, and they reach out to PD when they see anything that is beyond their ability to impact. But I just want to call attention to that. So we can increase funds for the eyes and ears out there. But as far as some of those issues, those really real issues that the father was raising, we also need to involve PD.
Yeah, I agree. There are all kinds of simple solutions that, increasing the eyes and increasing the cameras, increasing, but I think Pete, this also will require a conversation with the chief. And because I think the chief, if we can convince the chief that in instances where the school is having a problem, a faster response would be wonderful. But I hear their concerns. Rick, you will remember when, a couple of years ago when we were talking about storage, people were concerned about this very situation. So I just think that we're taking these calls seriously and having and looking at the plan that's in place today and what we can do to beef it up. I would also ask that I've always wondered why we can't offer storefront office space to PD so that they can be closer to these sites, because their presence, as opposed to security, just normal security, would act as a deterrent. But that's something I'd like to hear more from you guys about at some point.
And if I could, just a couple of minutes, Madam Chair. Mitch, we've done that in the past. We made those offers. And I think, as Lisa pointed out, the security pertinence to this site can only be on its footprint. And all they could do with the eyes is to call and request a quicker police response to something going on another site. Now, I think, and I don't want to repeat what Vice Chair Klumpner said, because I think Ryan hit it spot on correct. And I cannot improve on what he said. That we've got a small program here that addresses a part of the problem and has been successful in getting stuff off the streets, particularly for some of the, I don't know another way to express this, the higher functioning homeless, to do other things with their time, like go to work. But this does not solve the whole problem. And the presence of homeless downtown, as we were all talking a few minutes ago, and part of our information item for you is downtown. And this particular effort is not an attempt to solve all the problems, just one part of it. And I think it's done a very good job of solving that one part of it. And again, I'll refer you back to Ryan Klumpner's comment, because I think they're spot on correct.
Okay, do we have any other commissioner questions or comments?
I just like to say I'm very much for the containers. I know that they are very valuable for the people that use them. I was just trying to see if there was some way to help the community too. Thank you.
And it's a very appropriate question, I think, for the successes of the storage facilities, the numbers of homeless have grown. So I think it gets overshadowed. It is hard to appreciate what some of the basic fundamental successes of the storage centers have been as we've seen the numbers downtown grow and the acuity levels increase. To the callers, I sympathize. I'm downtown every day. And the city has significant questions to answer that I know they are doing their best to work through right now with regard to the question of enforcement. That unfortunately is not within the Housing Commission's purview. But to the extent that we can be a part of the solution, I know that we are trying. And for the school, I certainly hope somehow PD is increasing its responsiveness to that. That is troubling. That is very troubling, and I know the commissioners agree.
It really
is there a motion? Or Mitch, I'm not sure if you wanted to make a motion with the amendment of increased security for the one that doesn't have 24/7, or I'm not sure where we stand now.
Yeah, I will make that motion to support the recommendation with the enhanced security being funded. And that's my first motion, and then I would make a request beyond the motion that Rick, maybe again a meeting with the chief to try and address the school issue. That is, it's unfair.
Yeah.
It's
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do that. And I don't mean to interrupt, but Lisa, are there going to be financial issues on increasing security here?
So security obviously covers significant costs. The commercial site does have 24/7 security. We would have to go back to the city and they would have to find it within their budget to increase it. I know many of you know the Neighborhood Policing Division has had some cuts to their budget recently as well. So I don't know what challenges we might encounter with those.
You will have the full backing of this commission to the mayor's office.
And we
for the
will,
increased funding.
they attend on a monthly basis. So we can reach out to the new Neighborhood Policing Division captain and then obviously work with the commissioners as far as getting to the chief. Thank you.
What I would respectfully request though is that we'll give it our best faith, good efforts to get increased funding for security. But if we don't, I would hate to see this not acted on because we're not able to get the extra money. So I think if you could trust us to do our best and then report back to you, and then maybe we can deal with it from other sources too, Lisa.
I will note that the approval action also include an ability to increase the current contract by 20% if funding's identified. So if you take the actions that exist today in the board report, that would still give us opportunity to add funding in if we can find it from the city. So it basically allows us to continue operations, but also take into account the feedback around trying to work with the city to find additional funding. And then we already would have the authority with the actions as they exist today to increase the contract.
Commissioner Mitchell, it's your motion. What do you think?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I mean, I can hope too that when you ask for something that costs money from the city, that may also just motivate increased engagement from PD. I don't know.
I think that is the key, is the mayor's office has the ability to ask PD to be more responsive. So
we will definitely communicate the nature of the concerns with the mayor's office as well. Absolutely. And the commission's concerns.
Thank you. So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Commissioner Davis, thank you. We'll go ahead and call the vote. Vice Chair Klumpner.
Aye.
Commissioner Akers.
Aye.
Yes. And a bonus vote. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, aye.
Commissioner Hester.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
I'm an aye, but I want to also defer some of my speaking time to the young senator and the Akers household, so that she can make her comments on the issue itself.
I appreciate the deference, but I promise you all, you do not want that filibuster in this meeting.
You guys are on your toes. I like it. Okay, I'll add my vote in favor. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Akers, I'm thrilled for the special guest. I hope she stays on. Item 102, the contract renewal and expansion for the homeless. Okay. Homelessness program for engaged educational resources. The phone line is now open for item 102. Number is 833-610-2513. Please call to be placed in the queue. We have no written public comments submitted for this item, but the number is 833-610-2513 if you would like to call in. If you call in, once the presentation is done, please turn the volume on your computer down. We'll be hearing from Executive Vice President of Strategic Initiatives, Lisa Jones. Lisa?
Good morning again, Chair Benvenuto and Commissioners. Next slide, please. The PEER program, a first of its kind collaboration between the Housing Commission and San Diego City College, provides specialized education, training, and job placement assistance to develop the workforce needed for programs and services that help San Diegans experiencing homelessness. PEER is an educational program focused on engaging students who are developing their career paths, creating a cohort of professionals to meet the immediate and long-term workforce needs for the City of San Diego's homeless programming and services. The Housing Commission approached the San Diego Community College District, or SDCCD, at San Diego City College to enlist their partnership in developing and launching this program. Housing Commission staff worked closely with San Diego City College staff to identify key areas of focus for the course, develop the detailed curriculum, and identify the types of guest speakers and panelists who would best support the class content and give exposure to the best practices of homeless services, as well as the recommended ancillary, informing the recommended ancillary reading materials. The first class launched on October 13th, 2020. Next slide. The PEER program's objective is to provide a pipeline for students into employment opportunities in homelessness services via specialized education, training, and job placement assistance. This includes both providing career counseling and job placement resources, as well as an 8-week course. The course, developed by the Housing Commission and City College staff, referred to as Human Services 75, is currently offered once per semester. It provides students with an opportunity to learn about the industry from both a national and regional policy perspective, to understand the types of core competencies students should be aware of to work in the industry, and to connect to opportunities for employment within the homelessness services industry. The PEER program was launched in a live video format at the San Diego City College campus the week of October 13th, 2020. Next slide. The curriculum includes a variety of essential topics necessary to create a skilled workforce to support the City of San Diego's homelessness programming and services, including an introduction to the San Diego County Continuum of Care Regional Task Force on the Homeless, an overview of the City of San Diego Community Action Plan on Homelessness, introduction to evidence-based practices, including housing first principles, cultural competency, and crisis intervention, overview of housing interventions and resources, the varied career opportunities within the industry, how to stay connected to the industry and best practices in self-care. And the program also includes opportunities to engage with local frontline staff, program directors, and both regional and national subject matter experts through guest speakers and panel style engagements. Next slide. The goal of the PEER team was to enroll at least 15 students per semester in the initial Human Services 75 course, which is the standard enrollment that the City College tends to see when they bring new courses online. Over the past 2 semesters, approximately 1,401 students received a live presentation or correspondence from PEER program staff to share information about the course and garner interest. Projected outcomes.
Yeah, over onto something else. But
Molly,
I noticed females
Molly,
like that.
please mute your. Thank you. Sorry. Projected outcomes were significantly exceeded as interest in the program grew rapidly. 42 students enrolled in the fall 2020 course and 43 students enrolled in the spring 2021 course, which exceeds the college's normal per class enrollment cap. 37 students in the 2 cohorts drafted an education plan with the assistance of an academic counselor. 45 students met with a career coach and received assistance with resume building, interviewing skills, internship and job searches, and overall guidance with securing employment positions in the homeless services industry. In the past few months alone, 8 students were placed into new job opportunities. Students have shared that it is easier to focus on career planning and job opportunities during semester breaks, so PEER career counselors and job placement staff are planning several job fairs over the summer. PEER staff work all year long, so they are available for both current and alumni PEER students when they are ready to look for those next opportunities. Notably, other regions and communities are hearing about the PEER program and have expressed interest in learning more about the program to potentially develop similar academic programs at other community colleges. PEER leadership staff, including myself for the Housing Commission, the Dean of Social Work at San Diego City College, Lori Erica, and Kieran Makabai, the class's professor, presented at the National Innovations Conference for Community Colleges earlier this spring. Most recently, PBS has expressed interest in including a spotlight of the peer collaboration in their statewide program Inside California Education. Next slide. The program is currently funded with $187,533 in Housing Commission local funds and is operated by San Diego City College District through June 30th, 2021, when the first option expires. In fiscal year 2022, PEER will be expanded with an additional $250,000 in American Rescue Plan or ARPA funds, contingent on funding being allocated for this purpose in the City of San Diego's fiscal year 2022 budgeting process and approval of the board today. Mayor Todd Gloria announced support to expand the program in April as part of $10 million in ARPA funding he committed to further the city's efforts in addressing homelessness. Next slide. The expanded scope of services includes offering the Human Services 75 course twice each semester for potential to enroll approximately 80 students per semester, and increasing staffing to focus on additional outreach to community and other colleges about the course offering, continue outreach and networking to the homeless services agencies to fill positions with qualified staff, expanded career counseling, and providing additional job placement services, including expanding career fairs and other events to foster employment opportunities. Next slide. Staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on this slide. Next slide. And that concludes the presentation. We're available to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move into public comments if there are any. Scott, do we have any callers?
We do not have any callers on this item.
Okay, that concludes public comment for item 102. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Mitchell.
Lisa, one of the things that we've heard at the leadership meetings is that the staffing aspect around providing support to the homelessness community is a difficult aspect. And you heard Supervisor Fletcher make that comment last time. They're struggling to hire. My question is are we just limited by the amount of money that we're receiving? I mean, I would think that this is a great opportunity for us to really try and supersize this with all the money that the governor is offering, to try and supersize this program and get more people trained and qualified to help us. Because what we really need are bodies and qualified bodies to respond to situations. Is the limitation just, this is all the money we can get from this program?
So I wouldn't necessarily say that the limitation is funding. Fortunately, this program is embedded in San Diego City College's School of Social Work, which is quite robust. So the career counselors and the job placement counselors also reach out to other students within substance use disorder programming, other social service benefit, nursing programming. So we're reaching a much broader audience than just who's actually attending the course itself. Certainly, if we had more funding, we could maybe triple the course, but I think to some degree there is a capacity in how much the professor can carry. I would definitely come back if we continue to see enrollment that exceeds the maximum number available. We would certainly come back to look for additional resources to increase it.
Okay, that's fine. If we're turning people away because we have more people who want to enroll than they have capacity, then we should discuss that, because if the capacity issue is just about the amount of space necessary for training people, then we can find answers to space issues. And if it's not just about space, it's about money, we can find more money. I think this is the right time to try and get more people into this field, and it's the appropriate time to get more bodies to help. So.
Agreed, absolutely. I generally am the first guest speaker on the first class, and I am very frank with the students that I am here to grab their hearts and minds and get them to come work in this industry. That's exactly the point. And the intention of being able to run 2 classes is to expand enrollment. If it looks like we continue to exceed that, I will definitely come back and ask for more money on this.
Any other commissioner questions or comments?
I just want to say I'm in complete support of this program. I think this is awesome, and I hope it's successful.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hester. Rick.
Just a very quick amen and commendation to Lisa. This is one of our better wholesale, if you will, versus retail things we've done to try to create more resources, human resources to address this issue. And so far, at least, the response has been overwhelming at the City College.
Chair, if I could add to that, Lisa and I have had conversations about our needs at some of the programs and initiatives that HIT gets a lot of credit for because so many other divisions and departments are involved. That's not the case here. This is Lisa's brainchild. She came up with this concept 2 years ago, brought it to me, and here we are 2 years later, and it's growing fast. I think Lisa deserves all kinds of kudos for this program. She groundbreaking, ahead of its time, and it's entirely her doing.
That you stole my points, Jeff. Yes, I do recall Lisa kind of explaining one of the problems that we had. One of the challenges we face in addressing the homeless crisis is the staffing, is the workforce in the pipeline. And she mentioned that to me, I don't know, 2 years ago, and then said, well, and I'm going to talk to San Diego City College. And now from that seed of an idea, we have a robust program that makes so much sense. The one thing I think I would task you with next, Lisa, since you seem to have an endless capacity for creative solutions, is I am confident we are training the workforce we need and exporting them to LA and other areas that are able to invest in a rate of pay that is more competitive than what we can do. And I can only imagine the burden we're putting on folks who are entering this field with the intention of saving the world, only to find that they can't afford to live here. I don't know that there's an answer, and I know that $1 more here is $1 less elsewhere, but that could also be a very worthwhile effort, because losing those trained folks with the ability to identify the necessary self-care, identify trauma and best practices, it is just such a good investment. So if you could just let us know how we're going to solve the whole workforce issue, I'd appreciate that. But thank you for what you did.
Just one other brief comment. Our first approach is to get who we want to come to work for us, and we'll take care of them. Then we'll try to make sure that there's enough system for the others as well, because the problem is not going to get any less, I'm afraid, in an out year. So I think training this workforce will pay off as well in 5 or 10 years as just as much as some of the property we picked up are going to.
Absolutely. Job well done, Lisa, and team. I know it's not just you over there, but do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Davis.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Klempner got there first. We'll go ahead and call the vote. Vice Chair Klempner.
Aye.
Commissioner Akers.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hester.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll add my vote in favor. Motion passes unanimously. Our next item is 103, approval of the contract with Alpha Project to operate the City of San Diego's interim housing program for families with children. The phone line is now open for comments about 103. You can call 833-610-2513 to be placed in the queue. We had no written public comments submitted, but again, that number is 833-610-2513. And we'll take public comments after the staff presentation. And we'll be hearing again from Lisa Jones and Housing Programs Manager Jonathan Herrera. Begin whenever you're ready.
Good morning, commissioners. Just a switch out. It's actually Casey Snell, our Director of Housing First Administration, who will be joining us. We gave Jonathan Herrera some very well-deserved time off. Not enough, but at least something. So thank you for joining me, Casey. We're here today to present the recommendations to approve the fiscal year 22 non-competitive agreement between the San Diego Housing Commission and Alpha Project to operate the City of San Diego's interim housing program for families with children. Next slide. The Housing Commission administers the agreements for the city's homeless shelter and services programs based on a memorandum of understanding with the City of San Diego that took effect July 1st, 2010. This includes the City of San Diego's interim housing program for families with children currently operated by Alpha Project. On November 30th, 2018, the Housing Commission Board of Commissioners authorized the execution of a 6.5-month agreement with Alpha Project with 2 one-year options to extend at the Housing Commission's discretion to operate the City of San Diego's interim housing program for families with children. Next slide. The interim housing program will provide a service-enhanced program 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the city for a minimum of 42 families experiencing homelessness. The program is aligned with Housing First principles and will provide safe, low barrier interim housing, as well as stabilization and supportive services to prepare families experiencing homelessness for the most appropriate long-term or permanent housing interventions. This program was formerly known as the Cortez Hill Family Center Interim Housing Program. On July 22nd, 2020, families began moving into the new Palm Avenue location at 1788 Palm Avenue, San Diego. The facility was newly remodeled and particularly suited to effectively serve families during the pandemic, as each household was able to have their own dedicated space, serving up to 4 persons per unit. Since opening the Palm location, Alpha Project has provided shelter to 353 individuals or 102 households. Of those 353 individuals served, 103 individuals exited, or 33 households exited to permanent or longer-term housing. There are currently 42 households enrolled in the program, of which 21 are connected to a housing resource on a pathway to long-term housing. Next slide.
The interim housing team work with families to connect them to the most appropriate longer-term or permanent housing interventions, contributing to the regional goals of ensuring instances of homelessness are rare, brief, and non-recurring. Staff meet with households on a weekly basis to create a client-driven housing goal and to address any housing barriers. Additional services include legal assistance, youth mentorships and tutoring, transportation assistance, of course, case management and housing navigation, financial literacy, and life skills. Next slide, please. A non-competitive procurement process under Procurement Policy 9.4 was utilized to procure the City of San Diego's interim housing for families with children. This program leverages existing site resources controlled by Alpha, as well as other cash and in-kind funds to support the program. In addition, a change in the operator would adversely impact program operations and client stability. Next slide, please. The table on this slide shows the proposed budget of $468,244, which will cover a 6-month period. The operating term will be July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Housing Commission Board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on slides 7 and 8 of this presentation. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. That concludes our presentation. We are available to answer any questions.
Okay, do we have, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We do not have any callers on this item.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments? Okay. In the absence of questions or comments, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Davis.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second by Commissioner Mitchell? All right, we'll call the vote. Vice Chair Klumpner.
Aye.
Commissioner Akers.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hester.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
All the commissioners have voted in favor of the motion, as well as I will vote in favor. And the motion passes unanimously. Item 104 is our next one, the approval of a contract with Urban Street Angels to operate the City of San Diego's interim shelter program for transition age youth. The phone line is also now open for public comments about 104, and that number is 833-610-2513. Call in to be placed in the queue. We have no written public comments for this item, but we will take any public comments that are done via the call-in after staff presentation. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Good morning again. Casey Snell will be joining me in this presentation. This morning, we're presenting a recommendation to approve the fiscal year 2022 non-competitive agreement between the San Diego Housing Commission and Urban Street Angels to operate the City of San Diego's interim shelter program for transition age youth. Next slide. On January 16th, 2021, the Housing Commission entered into a sole source agreement with Urban Street Angels, or USA, to create a 19-bed interim shelter for transition age youth. HAP funding states that grantees are required to use at least 8% of the program allocation for services that meet the specific needs for youth experiencing homelessness under Health and Safety Code 50218B. This provides an opportunity to craft programs and services that can be specifically developed to best serve this population's unique needs and work with service providers that have expertise working with transition age youth. Next slide. The interim shelter for transition age youth provides a 24/7, 7-day-a-week, service-enhanced interim housing program in alignment with Housing First principles for a minimum of 19 transition age youth experiencing homelessness in the city at any one time. The program will provide safe, low-barrier interim housing, as well as stabilization and supportive services to connect youth experiencing homelessness to the most appropriate long-term or permanent housing intervention. Since opening the program, USA has provided shelter to 70 individuals. Of those 70 individuals served, 9 individuals exited to permanent or longer-term housing, and 42 transitioned into temporary housing with a plan to move into long-term permanent housing shortly thereafter. Next slide. The program supports the City of San Diego's Community Action Plan on Homelessness goal to address and end youth homelessness. This program was specifically developed with an experienced transition age youth service provider to meet the unique needs and challenges that this population may have. USA takes a trauma-informed, client-centered approach in services and the site setup, which provides a safe and welcoming environment specifically geared towards transition age youth. Services include, but are not limited to, employment services, peer mentorships, transportation assistance, case management and housing navigation, and life skills. Next slide.
A non-competitive procurement process under Procurement Policy 9.4 was utilized to procure the City of San Diego's interim shelter for transition age youth. This program leverages existing site resources controlled by USA, as well as other cash and in-kind funds to support the program. USA has been operating the program since January 15th, 2021, and a request for proposal process for this project would not be viable as the program utilizes a site that belongs to and is controlled by USA. In addition, a change in the operator would adversely impact program operations and client stability. Next slide, please. The table on this slide shows the proposed budget of $510,373, which will cover a 12-month period. The operating term will be from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. The program will be funded solely by HAP. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the Housing Commission Board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on slides 7 and 8 of this presentation. Next slide, please. Next slide. That concludes our presentation. We're available to answer any questions.
Okay, Scott, any questions? Or I'm sorry, any public comments? Callers, go ahead.
We do not have any callers on this item.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any commissioner questions or comments? Commissioner Mitchell, you're off mute. Do you have a question? No. Okay. Anything else? I just have a quick comment. I mean, I have to acknowledge that of the 70 folks they've helped, 9 getting into permanent placing should probably be a cause for concern for most of us because that ratio is not great. But I think I just want to address that, you know, we are fully considering that. But when you zoom out and you think where transition age youth would go permanently, given the state of our housing market here, moving into temporary housing with a plan to end up in permanent housing is in fact a win. And so back to that original caller from a couple items ago, housing is the answer. We know that, we agree with that. And if we could build all the housing we need right now, we would do it. But there are forces working against us, many. So this is a good and necessary program, and one that I'm glad is rooted in the action plan that was established last year, 2 years ago. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I do think this is a positive addition to our menu of services. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Davis.
A second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Hubbard. Thank you. Commissioner Akers is slowing down. Okay, Vice Chair Klempner.
Aye.
Commissioner Akers.
Aye.
Commissioner Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Hester.
Aye.
Commissioner Hubbard.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
I also vote aye. Motion carries. Item 105. Our next item is the loan recommendation for the Iris at San Ysidro Apartments. Our phone line is now open about comments about item 105, and you can call 833-610-2513. We have no public comments submitted, but again, if you'd like to call in, that number is 833-610-2513. We'll take those public comments following staff presentation. And today's presentation will be from Vice President of Multifamily Housing Finance, Colin Miller. Colin, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Benvenuto and Commissioners. My name is Colin Miller. I'm Vice President of Multifamily Housing Finance, as the Chair mentioned. The item before you today is a request to approve a residual receipts loan not to exceed $2.3 million for the construction of the Iris at San Ysidro Apartments. Next slide, please. The proposed development will entail the construction of a 100-unit transit-oriented affordable apartment building, which will be made up of 99 affordable units and 1 unrestricted manager's unit. The project will be located at 1663 Dairy Mart Road in the San Ysidro Community Plan and Council District 8. The proposed project's 99 affordable units will be comprised of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments that will serve individuals and families and will remain affordable at 25 to 60% of area median income for the next 55 years. The development will feature notably electric vehicle charging stations, bike racks and lockers, and is within a half mile of the Iris trolley station, and also has a bus stop across the street. Next slide, please. The developer, National Corps, applied for and received a preliminary staff recommendation for a loan of up to $2.3 million for the development through the Housing Commission's fiscal year 2020 Notice of Funding Availability. In addition to the loan funds, they were also awarded 25 federal project-based vouchers for the development. The future residents will be selected from the Housing Commission's project-based housing voucher waiting list. These 25 vouchers will assist families with low income. 15 additional units will be reserved for households experiencing homelessness, with supportive services being provided by Hope through Housing Foundation. Next slide, please. National Corps is an experienced developer that has received numerous loans from the Housing Commission. They have successfully completed each of their projects and are in full compliance with their loan agreements. The architect for the Iris at San Ysidro is San Diego-based Studio E Architects. Next slide, please. The site represented by the red pin on the map is located at 1663 Dairy Mart Road in Council District 8, just south of the 905 near Howard Lane Park and the San Ysidro Health Center. Next slide, please. This transit-oriented development is a half mile from the Iris trolley station. After visiting the site, I can confirm that the line on the map is the most direct route to the trolley station from the property. Next slide, please. The total development cost of the project will be approximately $50.1 million, which equates to a per unit cost of approximately $501,000 per unit. Notable sources of funding include a permanent loan, loans from the Housing Commission and County of San Diego, as well as approximately $30 million in tax credit equity and a deferred developer fee. The county funds, commission loan, and project-based vouchers will trigger the payment of prevailing wages. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, the units will be restricted at 25% to 60% of area median income for the next 55 years, and rents will range from $568 to $1,890 per month for the 1 through 3 bedroom units. Due to the county's No Place Like Home funding, 15 units will be restricted to individuals experiencing homelessness. Next slide, please. Should this be approved today, the developer will apply for 9% tax credits on July 1st. If the developer receives an award of credits at the September 9th TCAC meeting, they would then close on the land in October and close financing and start construction in February of 2022, and with a completion of construction occurring in August of 2023. Next slide, please. This is a rendering of the proposed development that depicts units with full as well as Juliet balconies. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, National Corps will serve as the developer. They will also serve as the general contractor and property manager for the Iris at San Ysidro, with Hope through Housing Foundation providing social services. In addition to Studio E serving as the architect, the remainder of the development team will be selected at a later date. Next slide, please. Staff recommends that the board take the actions detailed in the staff report and shown on the following slides. Next slide, please. Next slide. I, along with representatives from National Corps, are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time. This concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this one, Scott?
We do not have any callers on this item. Thanks.
Okay, commissioners, questions, comments? I know that Commissioner Hester has a hard stop at 11, but bye. Do we have any feedback for Colin? Kind of getting back to the traditional work of the commission. Okay, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
That Commissioner Hubbard and seconded by Commissioner Akers. Okay, guys. I had to make fun of you. Now it's come back at me. Vice Chair Klempner,
Aye.
Commissioner Akers,
Aye.
I could. Commissioner Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Hester.
Aye. And goodbye.
Thank you and bye. Have a good weekend. Commissioner Hubbard
Aye.
and Commissioner Mitchell.
Aye.
Great. I also vote in favor. Motion passes. And our next item, a final item, I think, is item 106, the informational workshop about the proposed fiscal year 2022 to 2024 strategic plan. The phone line is now open for comments about item 106, and that number, which is on your screen, is 833-610-2513. Please call to be placed in the queue. We have no written public comments, but again, that number is 833-610-2513, and we'll take those comments after the staff presentation. Our CEO, Mr. Rick Gentry, is going to introduce this item. Rick, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll say a few preliminary comments and then turn it over to our Executive VP Strategic Planning, Lisa Jones. I think this is an obvious, but it needs to be said, that strategic planning is utterly essential for any organization. We need to know where we're going before we get there, and hopefully go in the direction we intend to go in, rather than just to sit back and to react and to respond. And this will be the third major set of directions that this agency has taken in the 13 years I've been here. There was an initial set of directions back in 2008 that basically set us on the path of reorganizing and repurposing and refunctioning this organization. Making us a little less dependent on the federal government, a little more focused on local solutions, and much more innovative than we'd ever been before. And a lot of the good things that have come out of our Move into Work program, including our repositioning of some of our former public housing to pull equity out that we did from 2008 to about 2013, defined that era for this organization. And since that's new for, I think, most of the commissioners here now, I'd be glad to go back into that with any of you at your leisure anytime you want to. Then there was a second set of planning efforts that were done long about 2013, 2014. And a major result of the strategic planning done then by staff and board alike was this agency making a major change in its mission footprint to include homelessness. And prior to about 12 years ago, we didn't get involved in that endeavor at all, or very little. We tiptoed around it for the first 3 or 4 years I was here, and then got serious and basically launched our Housing First San Diego set of plans and programs in November of 2014, which has come to define much of what we do since. And as the chair put it so well a while ago, we moved back into actual property approval at the end of the agenda today, which is our used to be our normal business. But I think our normal business now has changed entirely from what it was when I got here in 2008. And it's time now for another strategic vision looking forward for the next few years. And we engaged the Smith Nuffer people. Nuffer Smith, I can never keep that straight, who've done an excellent job, I think, in providing guidance and direction and content for us. And we've engaged in a lot of conversation with staff, community stakeholders, and you all on the board. And the board leadership on this has been immense, and for that I thank you so very much. But this strategic plan, I will point out just in general terms before Lisa does her presentation, is also staking out a major expansion of the Housing Commission's traditional footprint. And that is focusing on housing needs for everybody. And so I'd like you to keep that in mind as we go forward with this presentation. This too could result in a far different agency half dozen years from now as we were 6-8 years ago before we ventured into the homelessness arena too. So that said, Lisa, I'd like you to take it over, and I look forward to a robust conversation with They're policy setters here. Thank you all.
I'm on mute. I'll start again. Good morning. Joining us today is Teresa Siles of Nuffer Smith Tucker, or NST, the consulting firm the Housing Commission worked with to support the strategic planning process and development of the plan we're presenting today. Today's presentation is an informational workshop. It's an opportunity to go through the plan in its current form. We also reached out to provide briefings to each board member prior to today's workshop, and you each were sent a copy of the current draft document following those briefings. We will bring the plan back to the board at your July 9th meeting with a request for your approval. This will provide time for additional feedback and any final revisions or refinement. Teresa will discuss the purpose and language of strategic planning, and then we'll go into the details of the Housing Commission's fiscal year 2022-2024 strategic plan priorities. Next slide. Teresa?
Thank you, Lisa, and good morning, everyone. I'm sure many of you have gone through strategic planning efforts in the past. We like to keep it pretty simple. So when we think about strategic planning, at its core, it's really about answering these three questions. So where are you now as an organization? Where do you want to be? And most importantly, how are you going to get there? So we think that this approach is important to giving you a systemic way for thinking through your current situation and really developing your roadmap for the future. It's also focused on creating stakeholder engagement and ownership and alignment behind the plan. In this planning effort, we've also developed some benchmarks from which future success can be measured, and we're going to share those with you today. The strategic plan should be the foundation for all future activities. So this is not something that should live on a shelf, but should really guide the future of the organization. Next slide, please. As Lisa mentioned, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the language of strategic planning. Some of these terms, if not all of them, I'm sure you've seen, but it is important that everybody kind of has the same sort of foundational understanding of these items. So when we talk about mission, we're talking about the organization's core business. It's the unique needs that it meets. The vision is different. The vision is that destination. It's what we're working toward, what we want to be in 3 to 5 years down the road. Values are the principles that guide decision-making, and it's really designed to help inform behavior. So again, values should not live on a shelf somewhere, but should really be tools to guiding decision-making and behavior change. Purpose is the end benefit to people or society as a whole. And we find that adding purpose into a strategic plan is a great way to get support. Strategic priorities detail where you need to focus in order to achieve your vision that you've set out. And then lastly, SMART objectives. This is how you know when you've arrived. They're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound measures of success to tell you if you are on your way to your vision. Next slide, please. A couple of other things that we wanted to dive a little deeper into the differences between vision and purpose. Vision should describe success at some point in the future. It's meant to be aspirational. It's meant to be very big. It's that unifying point in the strategic plan. It's the thing that we should all be working toward. Everything else stems from it. So your priorities, your action plans, your objectives, all should lead up to that vision. It should be inspirational, succinct, and memorable, something that propels the agency forward. It should also be clear and compelling, and it should require significant work. It should be a challenge that might also require a little bit of luck as well. The purpose, however, is really about looking at that end contributions of the agency to people or society as a whole. It's the essential reason for being behind an organization. It is not a reiteration of the mission, which is focused on the organization itself and its commitments, but instead is focused more broadly to society as a whole. And with that, I will turn it back over to Lisa.
Next slide, please. At Rick's direction, we were very deliberate in how we sought outside input in the strategic planning process. The Housing Commission's programs address societal issues that no one agency can solve alone. So we focused on garnering input from a variety of stakeholders. With input from the board's strategic plan committee, senior leadership identified a diverse list of community stakeholders to engage in a direct interview process, which Nuffer Smith Tucker conducted. Stakeholders included council members, board members, a variety of other critical community partners, and staff. Interviews were designed to solicit input on elements such as mission, purpose, values, vision, organizational strengths and weaknesses, as well as opportunities and challenges. This input was critical to facilitating an informed planning process. Engaging larger groups beyond the strategic planning team was also an important strategy for ensuring input from diverse populations with different experiences. An open-ended survey of all SDHC employees and a sample of program participants and residents was conducted to obtain input on the same key elements that were reviewed during the telephone interviews. Next slide. The feedback received through the interview and survey process was used to develop themes that served as starting points for 2 half-day discussions that Nuffer Smith Tucker facilitated with the SDHC leadership team. This included the board's ad hoc committee on planning priorities. Together, the group solidified the vision, purpose, values, mission, and strategic priorities. The team also provided direction on each priority area and potential metrics for SMART objectives for each priority. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The next phase was to develop working groups to further detail and refine the strategic priorities and the SMART objectives for each area. These working groups represented staff from a variety of experiences and work activities in the agency to help bring the strategic plan to life. These activities resulted in the comprehensive plan presented today. It's important to note as we review the strategic priority areas that the planning process in essence is never done. Rather, the plan should be regularly evaluated to ensure the Housing Commission's activities align with the plan and that efforts across the agency support reaching the plan's objectives. Next slide. As Rick said earlier, the vision identified for the agency is bold and forth-reaching, and it also was informed by the experiences during the pandemic in reaching underserved populations, that everyone in the city of San Diego has a home they can afford. This speaks to knowledge that though our area of focus may be affordable housing, we also need to identify ways to support increasing middle income housing through advocacy and policy development. So families looking for the next stepping stone into middle income housing, such as home ownership, have options that they can afford. Our mission continues to focus on reaching those in greatest need of housing resources. The Housing Commission fosters social and economic stability for vulnerable populations in the city of San Diego through quality, affordable housing, opportunities for financial self-reliance, and homelessness solutions. Next slide. Social benefit agencies are more frequently stating a purpose that speaks to their impact in the community. With this strategic plan, the Housing Commission adopts a purpose statement for the first time. The statement reflects the agency's experiences implementing critical new programs to serve people as quickly as possible during these unprecedented times. It also reflects direction and input received from the board over the past year. Our purpose: to help individuals, families, and the San Diego community thrive. Core values are the heart of how we do what we do every day, how we interact with our customer and community stakeholders, and how we conduct our work and make day-to-day decisions. Our values, along with the other key components of the strategic plan, create a framework through which our board and policy leaders can filter policy direction, and staff carry out day-to-day decision-making that advances us toward achieving our mission and vision. At SDHC, we serve our clients with equity, dignity, and respect, are committed to excellence and innovation in all we do, and believe in transparency and being good financial stewards. The strategic plan also builds upon our CEO's decision to create an equity assurance team at the agency. The plan includes a statement on equity and inclusivity as a key value and approach to implementing the strategic plan and conducting our work. At SDHC, we are about people. SDHC embraces diverse approaches and points of view to improve our programs, projects, and policies. We believe in delivering programs and services in innovative and inclusive ways, and we are committed to advancing equity and inclusion both internally and externally. As we review the 5 key strategic priorities and their related areas of focus, you can see common themes recur. Approaching our planning efforts and work from an equity, inclusion, and access perspective, focusing efforts on communication and engagement, strategies to key stakeholders and to underserved or harder to reach communities in need of our programs to increase awareness and access, and embedding the values and objectives of this plan in our agency culture. So it is not something that happens on top of or in the margins of what we do, but it is how and why we do what we do every day. Next slide. Through the planning process, 5 strategic priority areas were identified. The following slides provide an overview of the key areas of focus for each strategic priority area. Part of building the strategic plan into our day-to-day work is ensuring that staff from all levels have an understanding of the plan and opportunity to participate in implementing the plan across the agency. The plan is intended to be folded into both our short-term and interim-term planning, program development, and practice. The 5 strategic priority areas are increasing and preserving housing solutions, helping families increase opportunities for self-sufficiency and quality of life, investing in our team, advancing homelessness solutions, supporting the City of San Diego Community Action Plan on Homelessness, and advocacy, communication, and public engagement. Advocacy comes up as an important part of several strategies. This reflects the board's and our CEO's direction to further the agency's efforts in influencing and helping frame policy early in the legislative process through ongoing relationship building and providing recommendations as policy develops at our local, state, and national levels. Next slide. For increasing and preserving housing solutions, the 4 areas of focus are production, identify opportunities to produce and retain affordable and middle-income housing and permit supportive housing solutions, preservation, preserve existing deed-restricted affordable housing or naturally occurring affordable housing, funding, identify and pursue additional funding mechanisms dedicated to increasing housing solutions, and advocacy, taking a proactive approach to influence legislative action and create the best opportunities for our region. Understanding that progress on this priority requires significant collaboration and support from multiple stakeholders and policymakers, key indicators for success were identified. Part of the first-year activities is to define and determine how to best monitor those indicators. Next slide. The second strategic initiative is helping families increase opportunities for self-sufficiency and quality of life. Areas of focus are to conduct a needs assessment of existing program participants and residents to determine opportunities for quality of life enhancements for residents or participants, explore an online tenant portal to streamline application processes. At the same time, we will ensure sufficient ways and resources are available so customers that may have language, technology, or other barriers can access our programs. Increase awareness of existing and or new Housing Commission resources, including developing a communications plan to increase awareness among current and potential customers, and explore new funding structures to support priority programming and identified quality of life opportunities. SMART objectives for this priority include conducting a needs assessment and increasing awareness among customers of the SDHC Achievement Academy and Envision Center and increasing program participation. Next slide. Priority 3 is investing in our team. Areas of focus are enhancing communication and engagement with staff, auditing employee benefits and exploring additional workplace programs such as health and wellness programs, conducting a classification and compensation study. The last one was conducted in 2016. Ensuring team members have the training and resources needed to support SDHC's vision and grow individually, including determining specific areas in which training and resources may be needed. Ensure SDHC has the people it needs today and tomorrow to achieve success, including establish and share a business continuity and succession plan for key positions to support knowledge transfer and retain historical knowledge and expertise. And ensure team members have the necessary technologies such as hardware and software to support the Housing Commission's vision as we implement the plan over the next several years. SMART objectives include developing an internal diversity and inclusion program and conducting a baseline assessment to track key performance indicators like benefit satisfaction, engagement index, and retention rates to establish an overall satisfaction metric. Next slide. Strategic priority 4 is advancing homelessness solutions, supporting the City of San Diego Community Action Plan on Homelessness. The Housing Commission continues to have a leadership role in the city's existing comprehensive plan to address homelessness. The key here is to continue to define this agency's role and coordinate activities to support progress for the action plan. Areas of focus are continue to support the City of San Diego Community Action Plan on Homelessness SDHC employs a project manager who supports the Community Action Plan's implementation team and leadership council and a variety of other underlying working groups and activities, including maintaining public-facing dashboards that report out on progress towards goals. Also establish an internal working group to evaluate all Housing Commission divisions, to look for opportunities to support the action plan, and evaluate funding, infrastructure, and capacity, including staffing, technology, training, communications, and partnerships. The measurable objectives for this strategy mirror the action plan's 3-year goals to reduce unsheltered veteran and youth homelessness. Next slide. The final strategic priority is advocacy, communication, and public engagement. The areas of focus are advocacy, establish priority policy areas and a policy engagement guide to foster progress towards the Housing Commission's vision and secure additional public funding. Stakeholder communication, develop a communication strategy for the Housing Commission and key housing homelessness issues that build support and awareness among policymakers and stakeholders for the Housing Commission and its multifaceted responsibilities. And public engagement, develop and implement an ongoing public engagement plan to build support for housing and homelessness solutions and the Housing Commission among the public, including neighborhood planning associations, community leaders, and the public at large. This will increase awareness of the program and resources the Commission has available to serve the community. SMART objectives include achieving the intended objective on bills or policies we advocate for and increasing the number of briefings we have with reporters or newsrooms to elevate public awareness of our programs and services. Next slide. The next steps of the planning process are to provide a presentation of the plan on June 25th at an all-employee meeting. This will include breakout sessions into smaller working groups to discuss key elements of the plan and gather any final feedback or input on the strategic priority areas and SMART objectives or other key components of the plan, such as core values. On July 9th, we will bring the final plan back to the board for consideration with a staff request for approval. Following that approval, kickoff meetings for each strategic priority area will occur with core working groups assigned to each priority. This will begin the implementation of the plan cycle, and working groups will identify the underlying action items and milestones to advance the first year activities. To foster continued focus on aligning the agency's work with the core strategies and values of the plan, and to ensure that we integrate and embed strategic plan efforts into our day-to-day policies and practices, we created a new position, a Director of Integrated Strategies. This position will work with senior leaders across the agency to facilitate and support implementation and achievement of first-year milestones, as well as monitor and report on progress toward the plan's near-term and long-term goals. John Rios, who is online with us today, is our new Director of Integrated Strategies. Welcome, John. He reports to me, but will be supporting all agency leadership and working groups to implement the plan. Next slide. A quick thank you and acknowledgement to the many staff, agency leadership, and the board that supported this plan's development, and to our consultants at Nuffer Smith Tucker and Teresa here today. That concludes our presentation, and we're available to answer any questions. There
Scott, do we have any public callers?
No, we don't have any callers. Thanks.
Okay, commissioners, questions, comments?
I don't have any questions, but I want to commend you, Lisa, you and Jeff and Rick. You know, I used to downplay strategic vision, strategic plans, but I learned through the course of my career they're really important to, you know, providing the guideposts of how you measure progress, right? And so I'm looking forward to this conversation. Our work is now more important than ever, and I think every one of my colleagues and commissioners understands that. If we can't get it done, this city's in trouble. So I look forward to the conversation.
No pressure, everybody. Okay, any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
If there's any requirement or want by any of you all to follow up between now and the next board meeting, please let us know. But this does represent a major step forward, and I think it will redefine us over the next half dozen years, just like homelessness has over the last half dozen.
Absolutely. I think, and thank you to staff for taking time to, I know that they met with me, and it sounds like they met with all the commissioners independently to walk us through some of this. I know that when we had that first session a long time ago, it feels like a lot has changed, but certainly the work that we are doing, like Commissioner Mitchell said, has never been more important. So very much appreciate all of the time that's been put in to get us to this point. And I'm looking, it looks like there's not any other questions or comments. So we'll revisit this in July, barring any additional feedback. Okay. It was an informational item, so no action is required. I know that, so I have notes, which you may have already noticed, but, and they say that we're going to go into closed session, but I believe that we are not having closed session today. Chuck, is there anything that we need to do?
No, thank you. No, there isn't. We had set the closed session in the event we would have some information for you that we would need to share. We will have a closed session definitely in July, when we expect to have some significant information to share with the board.
Okay. Thank you. Then I believe that concludes the board's meeting today. Speak now. Okay, at 11:22, we are adjourned. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.